So the story here is I always loved aviation since a kid, back to Top Gun, right stuff. So I started flying in 2004 when I just was waking up on my keyboard and needed a hobby, and I just didn't look back. 2008, 9, I started to get into...
Wait. You were on your keyboard and you needed a hobby.
Like I was waking up on my keyboard every morning.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it was a stage of life when you're young, you don't have family or responsibilities.
Yeah, you're working, yeah.
So I started flying, never really slowed down, knew I wanted to fly, jets and ex-military aircraft. So I started flying air shows, 2010, 2011, and I had the best team in the world that I was flying with. I mean, former Thunderbirds, again, Dale Snodgrass, highest timed F-14 pilot in the world, just amazing. And we were flying a 7-ship aerobatic routine at air shows across the country. And, we were having the best times of our lives, but we were also saying, we all know this industry well enough to know that there's always going to be a bad day. Like it's inevitable at some point. We should try and pivot this to something commercial. And I literally traveled around the world and bought fleets of fighter jets from countries that were selling them and import them back in the U.S. and modernize them. And then we were literally the Top Gun adversaries for the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps.
You were the bad guys.
We were the bad guys. We would replicate Russian, Chinese, Iranian tactics. And we became the world's largest private air force. We had over 100 fighter jets. And it was cool. I mean, it was very cool.
I bet it was. So you wouldn't tell them what you were going to do? I mean, that had to have been... I've always wondered if you're training... Same people who are training you how to defend yourself also are the ones coming in. You're not necessarily getting new input. So did you know what I mean?
So maybe to describe it, there are things like when you're supporting the weapons school, for example, which is the Air Force version of Top Gun, they're actually giving you a lot of things that are scripted out because they're trying to train what they consider their PhD of fighter pilot course, certain things and arrive at, these desired learning objectives. And in which case if we do everything right and they do everything right, we die. And then there are some which is just total, the gloves come off, fangs out, and they don't know what's coming. And if they make mistakes, it's our job to punish them. And it was super cool. I wound up selling the business to Blackstone in 2019 because I was taking my other company public, but I still kept a handful of fighter jets. I'm on my way to America's biggest air show, Oshkosh, and I'm flying a MiG-29 in it. So.
Wow. Isn't it hard to get a license to fly military and to own or not?
I've had the type ratings for about 16, 17 years. So I have all the ratings for it. But you should have a lot of experience to fly them. I mean, if they can go twice the speed of sound, that's, there's a lot of energy there.
One of the people, and this probably seems so ridiculous to you, but I think one of the guys that really actually inspires me just because he does everything himself is Tom Cruise.
100%.
I mean, that guy is amazing.
100%.
You don't know him. I mean, it's not like fighter.
So actually,
out, but
on my first mission to space, he called up and spoke to us.
Wow.
And then he said, when you guys come back, I want you to come to a screening of Top Gun 2. So he arranged that for us.
Wow.
And then every now and then we exchanged a text. He invited my wife and I out to see the new Mission Impossible movie a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, he's awesome.
He really is.
He's so inspiring too.
He is. Yeah. It's like when you're watching him, I think I was talking to, my son, we were talking about AI and how anything can be done now in AI and, what does special effects even mean? And I said, AI will become humdrum very soon, except for people like Tom Cruise, because it's him. And there is a difference between CGI and watching him going, what is wrong with this guy? He just goes and goes.
Completely agree.
Yeah. You set a world record. What is it? 61 hours flying around the...
Yeah, back in 08 and then again in 09. That's actually what got me exposed to the commercial space industry. We did that record and flew. It was just how fast you could fly around the world. And we also did it to raise awareness for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And when I came back, Dr. Peter Diamandis, who's he's like a serial entrepreneur, but he promotes all sorts of just cool endeavors in commercial space and human life extension. He tackles really interesting projects. He invited me to Baikonur, Kazakhstan, with the early commercial space industry to see a launch, and that was my connection, early connection to SpaceX and others, was from that around the world flight.
When you were flying, I mean, you had to have thought of people like Lindbergh and what the difference was between what you did and what he did.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
Everything, any of the adventures that I've been fortunate enough to be on, whether it's in aviation or in space, pales in comparison to the early pioneers that risked it all to break down the door.
I don't know if you saw when we came in. Did you see the NASA Freedom or Friendship 7 capsule above the door?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so we have the Friendship 7 capsule made by NASA for the early days for their tours.
No kidding.
Yeah, and you look inside, and it's got the astronaut in there, and you look inside, and there's no way any of us would get into anything like that now. There's just no way.
Definitely don't do it if you're claustrophobic.
No, but it's still, you look, I guess it was the technology of the day that was so advanced, but you look at the technology and you're like, that's like flying into space with a microwave.
Yeah.
No, not going to do it.
They were heroes.
So you were nominated to head NASA. Tell me, first of all, what that is like, getting the nomination to head something like NASA, especially if you're in kindergarten thinking, I want to go to space. It was
incredible. I mean, I found the whole experience very enlightening, thrilling, even the good and bad. I mean, it's like there's a lot of bad in politics. Like, I enjoyed the experience, and the more...
Wait. Of politics?
Yeah.
I haven't been in it. I've been around it. What exactly did you find enjoyable about that?
I think it's just it's really complicated, right? We designed the system where you're going to take a couple hundred people and who knows how many layers around them all that have to generally come together with some sort of majority to get things done. And that's incredibly challenging. And I can see the good part when it arrives at the right outcome. And I certainly have seen some of the ugliness too, when people are trying to maneuver for what they think is the right outcome. But from my perspective, just like once you overcame some of the intimidation factor of being in that environment, I thought this is an arena I can be helpful in for all the right reasons. So it was, you're seeing how the government works for all of the good and all the blemishes associated with it. It was I don't know. It was a perspective I was thankful to have.
I guess I shouldn't say I've been around politics. I've been around politicians.
Sure.
And elections. And elections are, oh my gosh, horrible, just horrible. What these guys put up with and do and everything else. What needs to happen with NASA? If you were, and we're getting into what happened to the nomination and everything else, but when you were nominated, you put together a list of things that has to happen.
For sure.
What were those things?
Well, I mean, even just to interview with the president, you had to come with a game plan. So this was in, I don't know, the last day or two of November, or the first day or two of December 24. And, it was pretty simple. Everything I did in the 6 months or so through, of the confirmation process was just to build it out in greater detail with what needs to happen and when, who the right people are to do it. But essentially it comes down to the same things, there needs to be some sort of a reorganization of the agency so you can kind of get back to concentrating on the real needle movers, the things that if NASA doesn't do it, no one will. Or if it is done, it'll be done by the Chinese or the Russians. Well, returning to the moon, getting to, establishing a pathway to Mars.
Wait, stop. Let's go to the moon. Mm-hmm. First of all, it'd be our first time because we never went. I can't, those people drive me out of my mind.
Yeah.
But why is it important for us to go back to the moon?
Well, I think it comes down to, what we may learn from a scientific perspective, what economic benefit might be out there, and our general national security. Let's take like helium-3, for example. Maybe there's a 1% or less probability that could transform, energy creation here on Earth. How many wars have we fought over the last 100 years based on sources of energy? I mean, you get something wrong in space, and we have literally just dipped our toe into this and our understanding of it. It could shift the balance of power here on Earth. Like, I don't know how we could ever afford to fall behind in the ultimate high ground of space. Because if we do, we may never catch up at all. So from my perspective, you got to reorganize because you're doing lots of little things and there's a lot of bureaucracy there that's impeding progress, and concentrate on what no one else will do except maybe our geopolitical rivals. And then it's leading in the high ground of space. It's figuring out the space economy, because right now, everything we do in space is funded by taxpayers. So you're not going to have that Star Wars-like future we all imagine of rockets zipping by if every taxpayer has to contribute. We need to figure out what is the orbital economy. Is it pharmaceuticals? Is it mining? Is it energy? Is it energy-related sources? Got to figure it out. And then
what do you think it is?
Well, look, I mean, what's for sure is there is material, there's elements, metals that are up there that we know have value. Now people will talk about, the asteroid with 2 trillion worth of rare minerals in it, and that supply demand gets thrown off the moment you introduce 2 trillion into the system. But we know it's out there, so you can go out and potentially mine it and extract it. I think we really have only scratched the surface with some of the pharmaceutical work. There's good companies like Varda that's experimenting, but
what is that work?
I'm sorry?
What is that work? What are they?
They're doing like crystal formulation of medical treatment, so increasing the density of the treatment by these crystal formulations. But I think like the big concern is we don't have a good answer yet, despite having a space station up there for 20 years. The biggest accomplishment we've had is keeping people alive continuously for 20 years in the harsh environment of space, which is good. But we haven't figured out that magic wand. This treats cancer. This improves some technology for average, Americans or citizens dramatically. And part of that is the bureaucracy. To give you just an example, and this is, I talk about NASA, but this is government wide, right? The iPhone, the Russians have brought it to the space station, which they share with the Americans. The commercial astronauts who've gone to the space station have brought iPhones. NASA has yet to approve iPhones to go to the space station for their astronauts. And it's like, well, that's kind of like a petty example, but it's like, how do I know there isn't a ton of cancer treating formulas that have been waiting 8 years to get approval to go to the space station that could have a real economic benefit, in which case, it could fund this future in space we all want. Lots of space stations, for example.
Why go back to the iPhone? Why? Is that one of those things like, you got to turn your phone off as we take off because it could...
I mean, it's probably, if you're, I think culturally in this nation, and again, this is not specific to NASA, but I mean, we've become very risk averse. One of my themes is there are some risks worth taking. Exploring the worlds beyond ours is a risk worth taking. You're not going to get there if you're not accepting some risk, just as we do for our Navy pilots flying off aircraft carriers, our troops that go into different combat. We put people in higher risk environments because there's a purpose that we think is worth it. Space is certainly no different in that regard. But I remember getting a list of all the departments in NASA as I was thinking through reorganization. If you do a Control F and type the word safety, you're going to find 50 different departments. That's not to say safety isn't important, but if you have lots of people in a position to say no rather than bubbling it up logically to a single organization, it's going to be easier to just say no. I mean, the best way to keep astronauts and pilots safe is don't fly and don't go to space.
So what happened to the nomination?
Well, I was on, I guess the 1 yard line. So I'd already cleared committee vote. There was bipartisan support. I was 2 days away from the floor vote that would have confirmed me. And I think there was a very public falling out that took place. And I became, I guess, a casualty of that.
The public falling out being...
So I think that, well, put it this way, the same day that, that Elon got the golden key to the White House and a very, public farewell was the day that I got a call that the president decided to go in a different direction.
But you two aren't connected. I mean, you know each other, but you're not really connected, are you?
No, that's, certainly it was funny because that was what a lot of the Democrat senators were asking me throughout the confirmation process is like this conflict of interest. You and Elon go way back. I was like, wait a second, I paid him to go to space. The same as NASA does because there's no other choice in the matter. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for him and what SpaceX has done. They've sent me to space on 2 challenging missions and brought us back alive. But hey, if there were 3 companies, I bet I would have paid less. It's not like, I grew up in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. He was on the West Coast. I have no Silicon Valley connections, never had any Silicon Valley money. We've never gone out on a social dinner. It's been a professional relationship, and I have a ton of respect for him. But I made it clear during the hearing, my loyalty is to the nation and the space agency. SpaceX is an important vendor. Just as, during, James Webb had important relationships with McDonnell Douglas and Boeing and others during the 1960s.